Hi everyone, my name is Mark, and today we're diving into the harrowing story of Katrina Ashley Edland. Born on July 16, 1982, Katrina was the youngest child in her family, loved and adored by her mother Vicky. She grew up alongside her older brother Chad and younger sister Miranda. From a young age, Miranda always looked up to Katrina, often trying on her clothes and experimenting with her makeup, idolizing her big sister. Growing up in Masney Park, Illinois, a tranquil suburb outside the bustling city, Katrina's early years were filled with the normalcy and warmth of a close-knit family, despite her parents' separation when she was just a child. After the separation, she lived with her mother Vicky, who tried her best to provide a loving home. Katrina's childhood was marked by a strong familial bond, especially with her siblings. She and Miranda shared a particularly special connection, evolving from mere siblings to best friends as they grew older. Katrina was known in her community as a kind-hearted and fun-loving individual. Her personality was magnetic, drawing people towards her with her jovial spirit and genuine kindness. She had a particular fondness for the holiday season, embracing the joy and warmth it brought. She was famous among her friends and family for her humorous gag gifts, which always lightened the mood and brought smiles to everyone's faces. Her involvement in her local church was a testament to her nurturing and generous nature. Katrina had an intrinsic desire to help others, often volunteering her time and energy to support anyone in need. Despite her cheerful demeanor and active community involvement, Katrina, like many young people, yearned for love and companionship. At the age of 20, Katrina's life took a romantic turn when she met Todd Smith at a local bar. Todd, a successful financial planner who ran his own business from home, was a divorced father of 3 daughters. Despite their different life paths, the attraction between them was undeniable. Todd's flexible work schedule allowed them to travel extensively, further cementing their bond. After 3 years of a blossoming relationship, Todd proposed, and Katrina, overwhelmed with joy, accepted his proposal. Their wedding was a quaint affair, held in a local park with close family and friends. Katrina was over the moon about starting a new chapter with Todd. She adored his daughters and embraced her role as a stepmother with open arms. Her family, including her mother Vicky and siblings Chad and Miranda, all thought highly of Todd, seeing him as a wonderful addition to the family and a perfect match for Katrina. After their marriage, Katrina and Todd settled into their life together in Masney Park, cherishing each day they spent together. However, on October 20th, 2012, a shadow fell over their idyllic life. That day, Katrina, then 30 years old, called her mother to let her know she was house-sitting for a friend. She mentioned she would come over for dinner on October 24th and hinted at having some news to share. Although Vicky sensed something was amiss, she couldn't put her finger on what it might be. Excited to see her daughter, she promised to make Katrina's favorite dish, chicken and dumplings. Tragically, that dinner would never happen. Several days after the phone call, Katrina vanished without a trace. On October 23rd, as anxiety mounted, Todd, fraught with worry, dialed 911 to report his wife missing. He explained to the dispatcher that he hadn't been able to reach Katrina for several hours and that the house she was supposed to be in was eerily empty. The news of her disappearance sent shockwaves through her family. Chad, stationed with the U.S. Army in Oklahoma, immediately flew back to Illinois to aid in the search for his sister. That same evening, a local resident reported an abandoned vehicle near Rock River. The car, found not by the roadside but rather hastily abandoned in an easement, was soon discovered to belong to Katrina. When the police inspected the vehicle, no signs of a struggle were evident, which only deepened the mystery. Hearing the news, Vicky was struck by a terrible realization. Something horrific must have happened to her daughter for her car to end up abandoned in such a manner. As the case was officially declared a missing person investigation, the search for Katrina intensified. On the night of October 25th, Todd Smith was brought to the Winnebago County Sheriff's Department for a formal interview, marking the beginning of a painstaking investigation that would uncover startling truths and shake the foundations of their community. During the interview, Todd Smith shared with the detective the last moments he recalled spending with his wife, Katrina. He detailed that on October 22nd, Katrina had come back home briefly to do laundry, in preparation for a big job interview scheduled for the following day. While the laundry churned and tumbled, Todd mentioned that Katrina decided to step out for a bit. According to him, she went to the mall to pick up something and returned around 8:30 p.m. But her stay was short. Soon after, she left the house again, mentioning that she needed to make one last stop before heading back to the house she was looking after for a friend. The next day, with Katrina officially declared a missing person, Todd took an immediate and poignant step forward. He approached the media. In a televised appeal that captured the hearts of viewers, Todd, overwhelmed by emotion and fighting through tears, pleaded for any information that could lead to finding Katrina. His voice cracked as he asked the public to help bring his wife back home safely. As the search for Katrina gained momentum, teams of officers and volunteers assembled, determined to uncover any clues that could explain her sudden disappearance. They concentrated their efforts around the park close to where Katrina's car was found abandoned. It was hoped that this area, being so close to the last known location of her belongings, might yield some clues. Chad, Katrina's brother, flew in from Oklahoma where he was engaged in military training. His arrival brought a new vigor to the search efforts. Using his military expertise, Chad organized the search operation meticulously. He plotted out the search area on maps, dividing the volunteers into teams and overseeing the operation to ensure that every inch of the park was thoroughly combed. The search teams, including dogs, moved in a structured line across the park, ensuring no potential evidence was overlooked. Meanwhile, Katrina's mother, Vicky, was doing everything she could to raise awareness about her daughter's disappearance. She distributed missing person flyers all around town, placing them in high-traffic areas like gas stations, convenience stores, and on lampposts. Despite her intense grief, Vicky's primary goal was to make sure as many people as possible knew about Katrina and kept an eye out for her. During this harrowing time, Todd remained visibly distressed, a constant picture of sorrow and worry. Chad, seeing his brother-in-law's pain, stayed by his side, offering emotional support and encouraging him to stay focused on the search. He reminded Todd of the importance of keeping their spirits up and staying engaged in the search effort. Amidst these emotionally charged efforts, a breakthrough occurred when an officer found Katrina's purse near the location her car was discovered. Further down the road, more of Katrina's belongings were uncovered, including her cell phone and some towels that seemed to be used to clean blood. This disturbing discovery suggested that these items were hastily discarded as someone moved away from Katrina's abandoned vehicle. These findings deepened the mystery and hinted at foul play, prompting the police to suspect that something sinister had happened to Katrina. The items found were promptly sent to the crime lab for analysis, as the police awaited the results that might give them new leads in the investigation. In parallel to the physical search, the police began an in-depth review of Katrina's personal life. They aimed to piece together her daily routines, scrutinize her relationships, both inside and outside her marriage, and explore any involvement in activities like gambling or drugs. Through extensive interviews with friends and family, a picture emerged of Katrina as a responsible and kind-hearted individual who always prioritized her duties and steered clear of any questionable activities. Each person interviewed reinforced the image of Katrina as a loving wife, a devoted stepmother, and a cherished friend and family member, deepening the mystery of her uncharacteristic disappearance. Katrina's family and friends consistently expressed their admiration for her dedication to her work and her strong work ethic. They testified that she was a model of responsibility, without any inclination towards addiction or irresponsible behaviors. They knew her as a devoted wife and a hard-working woman, someone who never compromised her integrity. As the investigation unfolded, an intriguing tip came to light from a woman who claimed to have seen something suspicious on the night of Katrina's disappearance. She reported seeing a blue vehicle, similar to Katrina's, parked on a bridge over Rock River. According to her account, the trunk of the car was open and a figure was kneeling behind it. However, she couldn't provide any details about the identity of the person, such as their gender or race. This testimony led the police to consider the possibility that Katrina might have been harmed and possibly ended up in the river due to foul play, though concrete evidence was still lacking. With suspicions mounting and no definitive leads, the investigation began to explore all possible angles, including the state of Katrina's marriage. Although it appeared that Katrina and her husband Todd had a happy marriage, the authorities couldn't overlook him as a person of interest. The possibility of undisclosed conflicts or secrets within their relationship prompted further scrutiny. During the ongoing investigation, the police uncovered information about a local teenager with an unsettling fixation on Katrina. Earlier in the year, Katrina had confided to her friends about this teenager from her church who seemed excessively obsessed with her. It was alleged that this obsession had escalated to voyeurism, with the teenager peeping into Katrina's bedroom window. Although this disturbing behavior ceased when the teenager went away to college, the police wondered if he might have returned and resumed his unsettling activities. This line of inquiry prompted them to allocate significant resources to track him down and ascertain his whereabouts during Katrina's disappearance. 3 days into the search, a breakthrough came when Katrina's cell phone, which was being analyzed at the crime lab, yielded critical clues. The phone was a treasure trove of information, providing insights into her text messages, call logs, photos, videos, and even GPS locations. This data allowed the police to reconstruct a clearer timeline of Katrina's activities before her disappearance. Among the revelations from Katrina's phone was evidence of an extramarital affair with a co-worker named Guy Gabriel. Their relationship had started casually, after a work-related meeting, and had developed into a romantic involvement. However, a background check on Guy revealed a troubling history of domestic violence. Moreover, text messages from Guy to Katrina were discovered in which he pressured her to leave Todd for him. Given his past and the aggressive tone of his messages, Guy quickly became the prime suspect in the investigation. When Katrina's family learned of the affair, they were stunned. Everyone had perceived Katrina and Todd as the perfect couple, so the news of her infidelity was both shocking and upsetting. Todd, who was completely unaware of the affair until it was uncovered by the police, was devastated by the revelation. Guy Gabriel was called in for a formal interview with the police. During this session, he appeared nervous but admitted to the affair with Katrina. However, he vehemently denied any involvement in her disappearance. Guy claimed that he was at work the entire night Katrina went missing, attempting to establish an alibi. As the police continued their investigation, they focused on verifying his alibi while also exploring other leads in the complex case of Katrina's mysterious disappearance. 2 weeks prior to Katrina's disappearance, a peculiar and unsettling event occurred that later became a significant point of interest in the investigation. It was during lunchtime at the auto shop where Katrina and her co-worker Guy Gabriel worked. As all the workers gathered outside, chatting and enjoying a break, a black Volkswagen Jetta sped through the parking lot. The driver, masked and unidentified, flung a stack of flyers out of the car's open sunroof. These flyers, which contained derogatory statements about Katrina and Guy Gabriel's relationship, fluttered down, scattering at the feet of the stunned employees. Despite their efforts, no one could identify the mysterious driver. During this tumultuous period, Katrina's sense of security had been deeply shaken. Her hairstylist revealed to the police that Katrina had expressed fears for her safety and had even considered purchasing a gun for self-defense. She felt as though she was being followed and had taken her phone to a store to check for tracking devices, indicating her growing paranoia and distress. In their quest for evidence, crime scene investigators at the police garage examined Katrina's car thoroughly. They employed various tools, including luminol, a chemical that reacts with blood to emit a bright glow. This test revealed the presence of a significant amount of blood in the trunk of her car, a grim indicator of the violence Katrina likely encountered. The investigation took a darker turn when a bystander near the river spotted an unusual object submerged in the water. Upon closer inspection, and with the assistance of the fire department, it was confirmed to be a body. The retrieved corpse was in an advanced state of decomposition, making immediate identification challenging. It was transported to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy, where dental records were used to confirm the identity. The dental expert matched the records with the teeth of the body, concluding it was indeed Katrina Smith. The autopsy revealed that Katrina's death was caused by blunt force trauma to the head. When her family received the news of how she was murdered, they were overwhelmed by grief and heartbreak. The revelation shattered them, leaving them to grapple with the brutal reality of her demise. For Vicky, Katrina's mother, the news was particularly harrowing, as the violent nature of her daughter's death was almost too much to bear. The police initially considered a teenage boy who had allegedly stalked Katrina as a suspect. However, After verifying his alibi, that he was on his college campus at the time of her disappearance and murder, they cleared him of any involvement. This led the investigators to refocus their attention on Guy Gabriel. Despite earlier suspicions, Guy provided a solid alibi for the night Katrina disappeared, supported by his managers and co-workers who confirmed his presence at work. Although Guy was no longer considered a suspect, the police sought his insight into who might have harmed Katrina. He suggested that Katrina's husband Todd might be a possible culprit, citing Todd's allegedly controlling behavior and his belief that it could have escalated to physical violence. This was compounded by discoveries that Katrina had been planning to leave Todd. She had expressed this to several people and had even met with a divorce attorney the day before her disappearance. Furthermore, it was revealed that rather than house-sitting as she had claimed, Katrina had actually moved out of the home she shared with Todd due to their separation. This new information led the police to suspect Todd might have been behind the mysterious flyer incident at Katrina's workplace. Their suspicion intensified when they discovered that Todd had test-driven a black VW Jetta, the same model and color as the car used in the flyer incident, tying him even closer to the ongoing mystery surrounding Katrina's tragic end. The timing of these events further incriminated Todd as it coincided with the flyer incident involving the black VW Jetta. When the police shared with Katrina's family that Todd was not only the prime suspect but also in custody, the shock was profound. They had deeply respected and cared for Todd, seeing him as more than just a family member. The idea that he could be responsible for such a horrendous act was beyond devastating, especially for Katrina's mother, Vicky. The thought that Todd, whom she had trusted implicitly, could commit such an atrocity was unbearable and left her physically ill. Further investigation into Todd's circumstances revealed troubling details about his financial situation. His investment company was embroiled in legal difficulties, and with Todd out of work, Katrina had become the primary earner in their household. The officers theorized that Todd might have viewed his wife's potential departure as a financial threat, especially if she took her earnings with her, possibly prompting him to contemplate the dire act of murder to retain control over these resources. In pursuit of evidence, the police secured a search warrant for the home Todd shared with Katrina. During their search, they made a chilling discovery: a baseball bat hidden in a corner of the garage, which had traces of blood on it. This find led them to suspect it was the murder weapon, especially since the injuries Katrina sustained were consistent with blunt force trauma, likely caused by a bat. DNA testing confirmed that the blood on the bat was indeed Katrina's, linking it directly to her murder. Additionally, during the search, investigators found a large area under a car that had been thoroughly cleaned. Upon closer inspection, they matched the bloodstains found there to Katrina's DNA profile, further implicating Todd in the crime. 30 days after the murder, Todd Smith was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife, Katrina Smith. His arrest brought a grim sense of relief to her grieving family. On January 11, 2017, Todd's trial commenced. The prosecution painted a grim picture of the events leading to Katrina's murder. They highlighted her recent consultation with a divorce attorney, suggesting her marriage was in severe trouble. The state argued that Katrina's visit to Todd's house, under the guise of doing laundry for an upcoming job interview, was pivotal. During this visit, Katrina purportedly informed Todd that their marriage was definitively over. The prosecution contended that this declaration triggered Todd's violent outburst. They alleged that in the garage, in a sudden rage, Todd grabbed the baseball bat and brutally attacked Katrina, ultimately beating her to death. After the murder, Todd allegedly placed her lifeless body in the trunk of her car and drove to a remote location near Rock River. There, he disposed of her body by throwing it off a bridge. To cover his tracks, Todd abandoned her car by the roadside and attempted to eliminate any remaining evidence. He disposed of her cell phone and the bloody towels he used to clean up the crime scene. The jury, convinced by the evidence and the prosecution's narrative, found Todd guilty of murdering Katrina Smith. He was sentenced to 55 years in prison, bringing a somber closure to a tragic chapter in the lives of Katrina's family and friends.